Good afternoon, everybody. Mayor Michael Helfrich here, and I wanted to, and with guests from the press, I wanted to take a few minutes and tell you a little bit about the U.S. Conference of Mayors, why taxpayer dollars go to sending me to these educational conferences twice a year, and what I've been able to bring back to the community. A very exciting announcement this year, and I think it's already been out there, but this year, well, first let me tell you, U.S. Conference of Mayors is made up of mayors from Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Seattle, down to sizes of cities smaller than York. And we all get together, usually 250 or 300 of us get together. In the wintertime in January, we meet in Washington, D.C., where we frequently get to go to the White House, interact with the White House staff, the secretaries, and work directly with them on requests, projects, seeing how we can partner together with the federal government to work on projects to improve our community. And then every summer, we go to a different city. Usually it's the city of the person that's about to become the president of the conference. So this year we were out in Kansas City, and we had just an absolutely great time. Mayor Quentin Lucas is amazing. He's a really great guy, and he showed us quite a good time. And but more importantly, we spent that time exchanging ideas. We're very proud. The mayors are all very proud, and it's so cool because I get to talk with Mayor Bass from Los Angeles about homelessness. I get to talk with Mayor Lucas in Kansas City about gun violence. I get to really work with. Whenever I interject or whenever I'm part of it, I try to be humble, and I'm saying, like, I'm just a little guy. I've got 45,000 people. I understand you've got millions in your cities, but we can still trade ideas and learn from each other. And that is the environment of the U.S. Conference of Mayors, including many of the directors from the White House and members of Congress that come and meet with us and also talk, again, not talking to us, but talking with us, which is the key point here. So this year was very successful for York, very exciting. Working with the South Central PA Works group, you may not have heard of them, but you may have heard of CareerLink. They oversee CareerLink, and they also work a lot with all populations to get to build up careers. But one of the specific things that I'm interested in is how they're working with our reentry population. So people that are getting ready to come out of prison. There is a very small window for us to take advantage of the positive energy that people have when they're getting ready to come out. They're getting ready to come out. They're like, I want to start my life anew. I want to make up for things I've done in the past. I want to impress my family. I want to build back that respect. And if you don't act very quickly, suddenly the stresses of living outside, because while you would think that living in prison would be stressful, it's stressful because you're contained, but people wash your clothes, people cook your meals, you're on a schedule. You don't have to be at work, and so to get thrown back into the community where you are responsible for yourself, sometimes it's very stressful. And if you're not successful within the first few weeks, it's very easy to fall back into old ways, what we call recidivism, people ending up going back to jail because they didn't feel supported when they came out, or they didn't make good decisions when they came out. So we're trying to do as much as we can to reduce that. So South Central PA Works already works with our reentrants, our friends and family who are coming home after being incarcerated. They already work with them inside, and try and get them prepared before they come out. Make sure they have their paperwork, maybe, envision what you're going to do when you come out. And that's where this grant comes in. We got a $75,000 grant to bring virtual reality goggles into the prison and allow people to start training on different careers while they're still in prison. So there's all kinds of different things from healthcare, airplane maintenance, auto maintenance, construction, all these kinds of things that you can learn virtually. And maybe even more important than the way you're learning virtually is that you can actually picture yourself being something, having a different career, getting ready so that when you jump out, you're ready to go. And that is just really huge. And I'm so grateful to Comcast. It was a team of judges from Comcast and the U.S. Conference of Mayors that got us the prize for a small city, a prize of $75,000. Then also Target and the U.S. Conference of Mayors recognized myself, Commissioner Muldrow, Tiflo, our entire police department for our group violence intervention initiative, which we've seen had reduced gang-involved violence by 80% last year, reduced crimes pretty much across the board. Just amazing numbers. And I, again, want to thank the community for working with us and trusting us to try and make our community better and safer for everyone. So those were the two big recognitions that we received, and it's really great because when the mayor of LA or the mayor of Seattle or mayor of Columbus or Miami comes up and says, "Hey, congratulations on that award," like York's on the map, and we're really working as equals to again try and make all of our cities better, no matter what size. So I wanted to inform you a little bit about what I actually do out at the conference. So I put together from my agenda the meetings that I participated in. And again, so these meetings are set up usually that you have 5 or 6 speakers at the front of the room, and then at the end you ask questions. So everybody's participating, but you also have I'm in a room with the director of the ATF, the director of the Department of Justice, I think it was the director, or was it the assistant director? No, I think it's, the director for the new office, Biden's new office of gun violence reduction. So for the first time ever, there is an office in the White House specifically focused on the gun violence issues here in the country. So some of the sessions that I attended: removing barriers and creating opportunities for employment and economic mobility. That has to do with some of the stuff that we're working on right now, both our local sourcing initiative, which helps large businesses purchase from local small businesses, therefore growing the local small businesses, getting those contracts here instead of those contracts going other places. Also with our Article 136, which is a small and disadvantaged business ordinance that we are putting in place in the city that helps us qualify businesses that are supporting underserved communities or populations, and help focus contracts on those businesses. Again, working to build up wealth in our neighborhoods. That's the key. It's hard to control your own destiny if there's not money in your pocket. And one of my observations is that's one of the biggest issues that we have, is that when people don't feel like they are in control of their own destiny, they act out. Whether it's a smaller offense or something major like taking another person's life. A lot of it is about lacking control. So the more we can do to help people be in control of their destiny, the more we can do to make our community safer. Just some interesting ideas. Oh, wait, let me go through the different things before I tell you about the ideas that I came back with. Supporting community initiatives on healthcare and entrepreneurship. Criminal and Social Justice Standing Committee. So the Conference of Mayors has a committee that is just working on that. That is led by Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas. Confronting the homelessness crisis, building a new national agenda. Current issues in immigration. Healing America, a national conversation on mental health. Innovations in digital equity. And that particular session, I was asked to participate as one of the panelists. That's where we won. That was the name of the award that we got. It was Innovations in Digital Equity. and that's where Comcast gave us the $75,000 to work with the reentrance. So I was actually on that particular panel. Using artificial intelligence to improve city government, designing solutions to the housing crisis, adaptive reuse, and the 15-minute city, which basically means it takes 15 minutes to get to all of your resources, as opposed to right now where we fly over here to go to this grocery store, and then we've got to be over here to be at a doctor's appointment, then we've got to be, and particularly, I live out on the west side, 45% of the people don't have cars out there. So the idea of having to travel from place to place in a car-based society is very difficult. So some of the communities, one of the great examples, Detroit just, really hit rock bottom. And there's so much open real estate in Detroit, buildings deteriorated and stuff like that. They've started to do planned communities, like you might see in the suburbs somewhere, but planned communities in the city so that people can have access to their different resources right there. Preventing and reducing gun violence, again, and real tools for real solutions, mental health, and homelessness. So those were the panels. So you can hear that I was involved in very diverse conversations about, I think, unless you want to yell at me about a pothole, I think I was at a session for almost every major concern that we have here in the city. So I wanted to give you some of the ideas that I've brought back. And again, some of these are just for consideration, but Lima, Ohio had 700 RDA lots that they were contracting out for somebody to mow, and they decided to cut that up into 13 different contracts to help the local, possibly younger people that are trying to start up lawn care businesses to be able to feed that instead of hiring one big contractor to handle everything. So I've already talked with the redevelopment authority about doing that. We've got about 220 lots here, and could we get separate contracts for the different neighborhoods and help small businesses that way? The mayor of Bridgeport, Connecticut, has set up what is essentially a reentry center, and they've served 1,000 folks so far, and 500 have already obtained employment. So that is amazing. And only 2.19% have been rearrested. That's amazing. So of the people that went into that center, and we've got great folks working on reentry. The Reentry Coalition is amazing. I'm not questioning the work that we are doing. I'm just trying to bring some more ideas into the mix. Then Arlington, Texas, one of the things I didn't know anything about was that we had so many people evicted during COVID, and they got that on their permanent record, even though in many cases their rent was paid off by some of the money from the federal government, some of the other programs that we had. But after that happens, a landlord has to go back and essentially expunge that record. Otherwise, the person carries that with them, and it's harder for them to get housing. So we want to make sure that everyone's given credit and their records are cleaned up for their benefit. Their credit rating can be affected, all of that. Building home-based childcare. This is another one. You'll hear this over and over again of not trying to go for these big things, but what can we do in little chunks? So, what does home childcare look like? I mean, it's already happening. You already have an aunt that takes care of five of the kids during the day. You already have these kinds of things in your neighborhood, but what if we formalize it a little bit more and help folks make businesses out of this, and then they can grow? Childcare is one of the biggest things holding back individuals from elevating their family's income. And in Anaheim, California, they have classes for all the immigrants that are coming in to help, and in all languages. They get translators for the different languages, and you can imagine Anaheim, California, very diverse population out there. But that is that is to help them understand the process of getting their business licenses and things like that. We're already doing that here. You probably know we have a large influx of Haitian individuals here within the last couple of years, and they're coming with all kinds of skills. They're ready to work, they're ready to start businesses, but in many other countries, you don't have the process and the oversight. You know, in many of those countries, like in Central America, you want a business, you open your doors, and you have a business. Well, it's quite a shock when you come here and people are like, have you got an occupancy permit and your aisles aren't far enough apart and you didn't have that emergency light in the corner and all those things that you would think might be kind of normal to us, that like we're used to that. But folks are coming from other places where that is not the process. So we are already certainly working internally to improve that communication. We recently got a young man who speaks Spanish, of Spanish descent, of Latino descent. And so now our economic development team can be working directly with the quickly growing Latino population that we have here in York. I'm also we got our first Haitian Creole speaking individual in the health department. But our other departments, you know, when you've got a city that on paper the population is 44,000 and suddenly 5,000 to 6,000 Haitians appear over the last couple of years, you know, that's like a 15% jump in your population. So we need to adapt quickly and make sure that people feel welcome and feel served and are a part of our community. So, speaking of that, well, next we go to police and public safety. And some people may have heard of the, in my opinion, the horrible decision by the Supreme Court to get rid of the bump stock, or to stop the ban on bump stocks that essentially, you know, turns semi-automatics into automatic weapons. That was that legislation, which was supported by Trump and Biden, by Republicans and Democrats, was overturned by the Supreme Court. So we need to get Congress to make that a law to undo the Supreme Court decision. And the U.S. Conference of Mayors, I believe, is unilaterally in favor of that. And so we were putting together a letter to Congress to make sure that they enact law now. Next, we looked over the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. And the Safer Communities Act, probably the best thing about it, is we're finally getting real penalties for straw purchasers. Real penalties for people that are buying up guns and selling them to our children. You know, this is one of my pet peeves, because we don't have any, you know, in the city of York, we don't manufacture guns. We don't have any gun stores. We don't have any gun shows in the city. So that means every gun, every act of violence is coming from outside of the city. And in the past, what we've seen is that even people that were straw purchasers were treated like it was like a paperwork issue. Oh, you didn't fill out paperwork when you sold this gun to this person. No, you supplied a firearm to someone who you have no idea whether or not they were allowed to have it. And so they would get a slap on the wrist before, but now they're actually getting real penalties. And we're excited about that. And I spoke to the director and assistant director. And when I say that, I'm talking about the top people in Washington, D.C. They're out there just talking with me. And it's wonderful, because we were talking about the very successful Operation Scarecrow from a few years ago. Was the first straw purchase effort in the city in quite a few years. And it was extremely successful, and we want to do more of that, particularly now that that BISCA, the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, has been enacted. I think we can do a lot with that. You know, it amazes me that if a parent, and we've seen these things in York, so I'm using examples, if a parent supplies alcohol to minors and something happens to those minors, those adults are held heavily accountable, put in jail. You know, if a drug dealer sells something that kills somebody, that drug dealer is held accountable as if they had murdered the person themselves. But yet people can sell guns to our kids and they're not really getting penalties. So it's time we close that loophole. Again, this isn't about legal guns for people. This is about people harming our children. And the cool thing about this is that a lot of the gun dealers are in favor of this. Because why would you want uncontrolled black market gun sales when selling guns is your business? You know, you don't want that. And it's bad for everybody. So that was something important that I was doing out there. Also, meeting with the Office of Assistance from the Department of Justice, Carlton Moore. I talked to him. One of his things was we need to double down and support programs that are working. And I explained to him that our GVI program has been so successful. Other cities like Harrisburg and Scranton and I'm sure more, some out Pine Bluff, Arkansas. We just had Nashville, Tennessee up to York to visit us. These folks are using us as the model to create their programs. But what happens is the pot of money doesn't grow, and then the money doesn't go to the successful programs anymore because you've already been successful. We need to give the money to newer programs. Well, that's not a good model. You've got to keep, again, the director himself said, well, you've got to double down on the things that work. So I went up after him after this particular session, and he's going to come up to York and meet with GVI. And we just had Senator Casey's representative in with our group a couple months ago, and folks are really, really taking notice to the Group Violence Intervention Initiative and the successes that we've been having. Here's a cool thing that we've done a little bit of, but I want to see this more in York. In Kansas City, they have a program called Data Informed Community Engagement. And here, we are already doing what we call shooting reviews, where we gather all the intelligence, we gather the police departments from around, and everybody looks at it to say, hey, does anything sound familiar here? Does anything ring a bell that would connect this dot to this dot to this dot? So we're all working together. What Kansas City has done is done their best to share whatever information they can more with the community and make it a community-wide shooting review. Saying, hey, here's everything that we know that we can tell you. I know sometimes there is resistance to this because you also don't want to scare off a suspect. You've got to watch that. There's a balance. But particularly on cold cases and things like that, we can share a lot of stuff and try and get the community more involved. They also have a program where they look at the environment and say there were 3 shootings in the same location. What can you do about that? Can you add more lights? Can you get rid of bushes that people were hiding behind? Can you fix up the environmental things that support acts of violence, that make it easier for those things to occur? So that's what I've got on police and public safety. And public health, this is just a little one that I threw in there. It was so cool and so easy. Out in Reno, Nevada, a very, very nice woman who started a program. I got to talk with her personally about doing skin cancer testing because most people just don't do it. And it's so easy. So dermatologists out there, look out because I'm going to be coming for you. I'm going to be looking for some volunteers. We have these different things, the mammogram things, the STD van. We've got all those things. This is just another one. And the funny thing, not funny, but we are as prone to skin cancer up here. Because you would normally think, like Florida, Texas, where the sun is, Reno, where this program is coming from, where the sun is the hottest, but it's happening everywhere. And melanomas can be taken care of so quickly if they are found. And then the company Neutrogena is in on this too. And so I'll be contacting them and reaching out and talking with my Bureau of Health to see what more we can do to help the community that way. Immigration. So, you don't necessarily think that much about us up here as immigration, but of course our population, just like I mentioned the Haitian population, we've got folks coming in. And we want folks coming in. This country needs workers. I've got restaurants downtown that can't fill their staff. I talked to a painting company yesterday, can't fill their staff. Anybody familiar with South Central Pennsylvania knows about the apple picking and everything in Franklin and Adams County. There are lots of jobs for immigrants, and our unemployment rate is so low that there's virtually nobody to do the jobs that we need done. The few percentage that's left, those are people that are chronically unemployed for some reason or another. If you want a job right now, you can find a job. But and this is something I'm really excited about, because I don't think there are many people anywhere anymore that believe that we should not have closed borders. The fentanyl that is coming in from Mexico, the xylazine, which is another new insane drug, the tranq, that it's just killing people, and it's coming across the border. So we've got to find a way, and I think President Biden has done the right thing, and I hope Congress follows up. He acted because Congress would not pass the immigration reform. We need to close the borders, and we need to improve the ability for people to come here and be workers. 4 times more, 10 times more processing, whatever it is, because we need those folks. They need us, we need them. It's great. And we don't need the 0.001% that are coming to do people harm. We've got to stop them. We don't need the people that are muling these horrible, horrible drugs. So I think that should be a good place for us all. And then along with the new efforts, the executive orders to close the border and improve processing, of course, there have been new regulations that allow people that have lived here for quite a while, that are married but not yet citizens, to get processed and become citizens. And I want to make sure that some of our folks here in the administration are working with CASA, are working with other groups around the city to make sure that if you are eligible, that this is the time right now to become an American citizen. So and then finally, homelessness. And I did bring some statistics on homelessness. I kind of anticipated maybe one of you might ask me about it if I brought it up. But a couple of the things that I learned, my friend Mayor Turk from Allentown is working on a program. Now imagine this, and I'm going to get into some numbers here, but if you think the homelessness is bad in York because you've seen some folks downtown, Mayor Turk, we're 44,000. Allentown is 135,000. So they're 3 times higher. In York, we essentially right now have 2 encampments of homeless, of people experiencing homelessness. Mayor Turk has 40. And so he has designed, he has put forward this app that allows his emergency services people, his community engagement people, to go out and map where these camps are and make sure that they have the best access to individuals, because there are medical emergencies that are happening. And then emergency services come up and they're like, where? They come into this wooded area down along the river or something. And so and there's no access, and they're also putting the safety of the EMS folks at risk. So he has engaged to get mapping tools to make sure that anybody that has to get in knows the best ways to get in and get out. Also, if there are any angry dogs in the area, Sometimes dogs are accompanying folks experiencing homelessness. Some are very nice, some are not. And our emergency services folks should know if there's any threat of anything like that. So he's doing a great job up there. And then basically, that's kind of it. I want to finish up with just letting you know the real situation. Now, this is January. Always in summertime, you get migrations and you'll see some new homeless folks. But in 2022, the total number of persons homeless in the county, so not just the city, but in the county, was 358. And that has increased to 391. So an increase of about 10% in the last 2 years. We're very, very lucky here in York. And I hope people understand that. Yes, there are some folks that we have to help and we have to figure out how to help them. But compared to my friend Mayor Bass in Los Angeles, she had 14,000 homeless folks 3 years ago, and now she's got 45,000. Tripling the amount, and you're talking about tens of thousands when you're talking. We're talking about, hey, we need to help an extra 30 people over here. So our problem here is manageable. Of course, it's always difficult because every person experiencing homelessness has a different reason. Some people don't want any help and will continue to remain unsheltered. But speaking of that, in 2022, the total number of persons unsheltered was 97. So these are the folks that you generally see around. And it is down to 76. So the coalition, the County Coalition on Homelessness, has been really working hard. Friends and Neighbors of Pennsylvania, Life Path, Bell Socialization. I wanted to share that because sometimes impressions are not reality. And again, while I'm continuing to see homeless population and continuing to work with them, the numbers say that we are staying pretty steady, while there's been quite a dramatic increase in the rest of the country. And this is from the annual point-in-time count that is conducted by the York County Coalition on Homelessness, in case you were wondering where my numbers were coming from. And just to finish up before your questions, I get to come home with innovations in economic mobility, driving economic growth in your city, Black Business Opportunity Strategy, the strategies they're doing in Memphis. Receiving Communities Toolkit. What do you do when a whole new immigrant population comes in and speaks another language that we don't speak here? But yeah, you want another one, Eric? Yeah.
Thank you.
So with that, I'll open it up to questions from you. I hope I didn't bore you or anything, but I'm pumped. I'm psyched. I come back from these conferences and I learn so much new. And I think sometimes my directors don't know what to do because I'm like, here, look at this. Here, look at this. Did you know about this? And I'm giving them more work. But I want to thank you for your time and thank anybody that's watching, giving me the opportunity to share why I do utilize about $5,000 a year in your tax dollars to go to these conferences, because it is invaluable. The connections with the government officials, the ideas I get from other mayors, it is really valuable. And I can say now officially, with the winning of the $75,000, we've actually brought back more money than I've spent at the conferences. So I feel good about that. And in case you're wondering, I think it was the 2019 conference was in Hawaii. I did not go to that one. That was too expensive. But next year it's going to be in Tampa. And again, I'm just so pleased with the U.S. Conference of Mayors and the way that they that I'm able to get all of this information, working with businesses, working with government officials, and bringing home a little bacon, with the grant for the new virtual reality goggles, working with South Central PA Works. So have I given you enough to write about? You got some more questions?
How soon will you be using the virtual reality goggles? Like, how soon do you think they'll be implemented?
That I would have to ask. So this is we city employees are not using them. It's the South Central PA Works. So in a certain way, we're a pass-through. So I would have to refer to them. I mean, I'm not even sure if they got the check yet. We got the award or the recognition, but they're going to have to then contract with the company and set all that up. I don't think it's going to take them too long because they're pretty excited. I will tell you one other thing that came out of that. So working with South Central PA Works, as I said, they oversee CareerLink, and they are very interested in bringing CareerLink back into the neighborhoods. We had it for a little while. They do come to the library. Their office is up on the other side of Route 30 in a place where most people don't consider the city. So it's not like easily accessible. But as I said, like when you've got populations like my neighborhood out West College, West Princess, 45% of people don't have cars. We need services to come to them. And so we had that conversation, and they are very excited. They just said, they just asked me, where do I need to be? So we're going to work out some ways for them to get a schedule coming in weekly or bi-weekly, whatever, into different locations in neighborhoods that people need career assistance.
Did you know before the conference that the city was winning that grant? Okay.
Yeah, they tell us that we can't tell anybody. It's embargoed information. Okay. But yes, because the South Central PA Works folks came out also, and let me thank them again publicly, because during my presentation, as a mayor, it is not my job to know everything. I wish. I try my best. But it's my job to pick and evaluate good programs that we should invest in and evaluate the partners that are available to us. So I saw this program and I was like, yes, yes, yes. And then I learned some of the details, but there were a couple questions when I was up on the panel where I was able to say, hey, Hillary from South Central PA Works is right there. She can answer your question. Like there was a question about is online safety or digital safety, protecting your identity, protecting your content, all that, ransomware, all that stuff. Is that part of your program? Well, I didn't know if it was part of their program, so she was there to assist me. And I just met her in Kansas City, so it was absolutely great. Yeah, they're going to be amazing to work with on expanding our programs.
Do you know what the current rate is of incarcerated city folk who then go back into
I don't
jail?
know the recidivism rate.
Okay.
No, I don't know
Okay.
it. I helped do the strategic planning of the York County Reentry Coalition. I was one of the many people involved in that. But then when I became mayor, I stepped back from that day-to-day coalition work because I had other work to do. Mm-hmm. And so I have not been completely up to date on that. I can find out for you.
Sure.
Has the virtual reality been used elsewhere?
I don't know. I mean, it's a company that does it. The question is, I know it's been used elsewhere. Where else has it been used for reentrance? Mm-hmm. That's a good question, and I don't have an answer to. You writing this down, Scott? These are questions I have to answer. I'm promising. Scott, my chief of staff, is on it. He's right behind the camera.
Okay, so was this maybe used before in different work?
Yeah, well, if you can imagine, did you ever play the Wii? Imagine it's like Wii, but with goggles. You're in there, you're turning wrenches. You're actually doing the activities. You've got a patient in front of you if it's a medical thing, and so you're literally acting it out. It's really cool. A couple years ago at the Conference of Mayors, when I was in Reno, Nevada, they had one for the mayors, and we were on the space station. And we're on the space station, and like you start feeling like weightlessness and stuff because your body's just like moving with the flow. It was a very wild experience. So these things are extremely realistic and give folks a great opportunity, not only to learn the skills, but also to try different options. Do you want to be a CDL? A CDL driver. Well, what's it like to be driving one of those things? Or do you want to be the mechanic for them? Or again, you want to get into construction, plumbing, healthcare, any of those kind of things. So you get to try everything out in a very realistic manner.
Right. And you mentioned like immigration and having immigrants fill that gap for needed employment. I assume you would foresee this digital equity grant helping maybe incarcerated people when they come out to fill that need?
Well, yeah, of course, yes. I mean, when there are jobs for everybody right now. The question is, how do we get the folks into the jobs? Like there are very few places that, I don't know about very few places, but there are lots of places that are hiring right now. Again, just off the cuff conversations in the last couple of days. Restaurants, painting companies, lawn care companies. And it's not that it's a great entry job. It's not to say that that's all those folks can do, because as I said, there's so many. And this is another thing I brought up at the conference that I'm hoping will get national attention, is that we get immigrants in that have diplomas, certifications, experience. We get doctors that come in and they can't be doctors. We get engineers that come in that can't be engineers. We've got people that have learned so much, but they learned it in a different language in a different country. So there has to be a better way to gain, because we all win. The country wins if we have somebody being a doctor instead of doing some job that is of a lesser skill set than they have. Everybody should be able to perform their highest ability and not be held back by essentially bureaucracy. I know I gave you a lot to think about.
With the virtual reality, going back to that, do you know like how many you'll have, like how many sets and how many individuals you'll be able to reach?
No, I do not.
Okay. That's right.
Yeah. I know this is kind of the start of something, so it's almost like a pilot project. I believe they'll have at least 10. One of the other things is that, folks that are inside have limited access to the internet. And previous programs would be requiring interaction with the internet. This does not. This is a standalone. So you don't have to worry about individuals having to get special permission or something like that. I'm trying to think, Scott, you don't remember what, I think it was like 15 units, something like that. But I can't confirm that. I mean, I can, Scott, get me to confirm it, and you can probably confirm it in like 20 minutes.
Going to the 15-minute city concept.
Yeah.
Where do you see that going here? Like, what are some of the things that York City lacks right now that might?
Well, the most obvious is grocery stores.
Okay.
I mean, that people have been talking about that. I remember under Mayor Brenner's administration, Matt Jackson and Mayor Brenner trying to get the grocery store over by Good School. We've been trying to get, we've got in the city, we've got Seatown. Seatown caters to certain customers with certain products. They are not like a Giant or something that has broad stuff that would be desired by different groups. I like Seatown, but I also know that what I can get there and what I can't get there. And then of course we have Aldi's. That's in the city, but that's on the other side of Route 30. That's not a walkable thing. So yeah, that's a main one. But just thinking about like local services, things that you want. We have corner stores, and they have supplied us well for a long time. But we also know that the smaller stores have lower overhead, which means they're charging more. And in the neighborhoods where poverty levels are very high, these prices are higher than what you would pay when you went to a grocery store. And say, it's almost the same as Rudder. You go to the grocery store, you can buy a soda for $1, and if you go to Rutter's, it might be $2. So I mean that's kind of normal when you're a small operation versus the large operation. But yeah, that's just one. Career training and career assistance. That's another one. I would love to see more. Now, it's not as easy as it looks, and I don't know. I would say that I gained information. I don't know yet how to apply it because the presenters were very large cities that had large tracts of land. Some of them had large tracts of land available, like Detroit. There were some programs in Chicago that I know were very expensive, but they wanted to do it to really reform the streetscapes and the streetways and get more retail businesses in a lower income neighborhood. So they're trying it. So that's one of the ones I went and I learned a lot, but I didn't put anything down for immediate application of the things that were talked about in the session other than the general concept. I did that good of a job that I just told you everything? You don't have any more questions?
Can you speak more about the home-based childcare concept?
Yeah. And this is something, again, I'm bringing home raw concepts. I have to look into what the licensing looks like, how much work it's going to be. But yeah, I mean, it's natural. It's been this way for thousands of years that somebody takes care of the kids while the other folks are working. And we have it in our neighborhoods right now. There are residences that during the day become 5 to 10 child daycare centers. And it's, a lot of times money doesn't even change hands. They're like, okay, here, I'll give you, here's dinner. Here's dinner for your family. Here's something else, here's some clothing. Here's something that your family can use in exchange for you helping me go to work and earn money. But in other places, it's an under the table kind of situation. But it's just absolutely desperately needed. So the concept is to find individuals that are already doing this, that want to kind of take it up a notch, possibly turn it into a larger career. But having that filling that immediate need of childcare is absolutely necessary.
You brought back a lot of ideas. Do you have like a priority list of where, like maybe 3 things that you want to do, like immediately? Or
I've been back 3 days. and there was a whole lot to do when I got back. But certainly, well, I've already implemented the small businesses cutting grass. That's a very simple one, or at least I've directed my folks to see how we could do it, and they liked it. I've already opened up conversations, again, with the ATF on how we could do another straw purchase kind of operation so that we can find some of these folks that are feeding guns to our children. That one, in case you can't tell, I get a little sound in my voice, which means don't like that at all. That's one that makes me sick, when people just buy guns and give them to our kids, or sell them to our kids, trade them for drugs, whatever they're doing. And I've already talked to Commissioner Muldrow just briefly about making more public shooting reviews. What can we share more with the public when something happens? Yeah. So again, we have to be careful, because if you give too much information, even when people don't try it, they start feeling like they knew that. They're like, oh yeah. You know what I mean? Like almost like that false witness thing, like where you tell people enough times that one person did it, they're all like, oh yeah, I saw him do it. Yeah. We gotta be careful that we don't go too far, that we end up tainting the pool, so to speak. But getting information out there and trying to work more with the community to solve crimes is a fairly low bar. And definitely, I already, during this video, you dermatologists, again, look out, I'm coming for you. But I think that's just a really, really super easy thing. You don't need a bus or anything like that. You need a pop-up tent. Come in. Somebody says, hey, I've been curious about this little pimple, this little splotch, whatever it is, and we could definitely be saving lives that way. So that's just a few. And the other thing I want to get on right away is the mapping of any emergency routes. Again, I'm only aware of two homelessness encampments. Both of them are relatively close to the access roads, so I don't think there are many issues, but I just want to make sure that our EMS folks can get in and out safely from wherever they might need to go.
And that app that they're using in another city, would that be something that you would be able to use here, or would you have to develop your own? I need to talk more with our folks, but I'm not sure if we need at this time, right, at this level, that we need an app. I think we tell our folks that know how to do GIS, hey, I can draw a map on a napkin and say, here's what I need you to put on the GIS so that everybody has access to it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I'm never looking to overinvest in technology if I don't have to, because every bit of technology comes with that annual subscription fee, and it keeps building the cost of government higher and higher and higher. Now, the other side of that is that it should be making us more efficient all the time, but that doesn't mean necessarily that we become so efficient that we can reduce the number of employees. So then we're still paying for the employees, but we're paying for the subscriptions. They might be more productive, but we ended up spending more money. And the city is still not in position to be increasing our expenses. We're trying to keep it as low as possible.
I think that's all the questions.
Oh, you have? Is that all you have?
Me too.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. I hope you learned something. And I guess, Cliff, is this going to be on the Facebook page? Okay. Can we put this on the city Facebook page? And then that's a great opportunity for everybody to comment back. And good or bad, we'll check out your comments. Whether you like me or not, whether you like the ideas or not, go ahead and tell us. I always say, even people I disagree with 99.9% of the time, there's that 0.1% where they will have thought of something that I didn't think of. And if you throw away people that disagree with you, then you're reducing your own value. You're reducing your own ability to put together good ideas. So whether you like me or not, go ahead and comment. I won't hold it against you. What I'll try to do is find anything. What was the idea that just came up? Oh, I was just reading Facebook earlier today, and I think it was on Retro York, and it was about the $15 million going to the Cadorus project. And of course, whenever you see that, two things automatically. You're wasting taxpayer dollars, because some people don't think we should have nice things, or at least taxpayers should not pay for improving their communities. And those dollars should have been spent on something else. Well, that's not how grant programs work. There's a certain money Congress or somebody has set aside a certain amount of money. So don't be mad if we got the money, because the money was there. And if the money's there, you should always try and get the money. So if you don't like the programs, then talk to Congress. But as long as Congress is giving out money, we're going to try and get it. It would be foolish for us not to. But one gentleman pointed out that that you could put a little spur of the rail trail right at Kings Mill Road, right up to connect you with Penn Park, which is only 2 blocks away. And I was just like, this is a great idea. I have to check out the logistics of it. I know that Lafayette Street is nice and wide, and you could do it there, but then it thins down right there at Kings Mill Road. It's very, very thin where Kings Mill Road intersects Jessup Place. So we'd have to see how we can do that as safely as possible. But, these are concepts that, if I would have stopped reading up here because somebody was mad, I wouldn't have gotten down here where somebody had a potentially very, very viable idea. So again, just brought that up to say that you don't have to agree with me to give me your ideas. And I've got fairly thick skin, so you can say it however you want to say it. Go ahead. Just please, no vulgarity, so that other people can read, and children that might be interested can read. Keep yourself together. You can disagree and still be reasonable. With that, again, reach out to us, let us know. Just wanted to make sure you understood that these aren't vacations. I'm not going on vacation. Well, I did have a very good time. And you can't hang out with that many people that are all kind of going through the same struggles. There aren't that many people responsible for everything from potholes to homicides, from the economy to pollution, from that are so really when the old buck stops here kind of thing. Everything is I get it. And plenty of people are mad at different things. Even on that comment about the Cadorus money, the guy was like, can't you use it for potholes? The city's all full of potholes and blah, blah, blah. And I got to tell you, we've paved more roads in this administration than I think anybody previously. We've been paving like crazy and paving them the right way so that they last for much longer. But I digress a little bit there. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, and just let us know your comments. And we'll see you around the city. Have a good one.